Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Full On, your Fulham-centric football podcast. Joining me this week, I have, two-thirds of the team. How are we doing, guys?
All good, all good.
Very well.
AJ is obviously great to join as always. Mozza, it's great to have you back.
Good to be back.
After missing a couple of episodes. Hope you're raring to go.
Jack's
Can't
back.
wait. Return of the Jack.
Well, we're going to move on. We'll start in the news with Fulham. Obviously, not really loads going on, but we'll look at departures and links. Obviously, we've had it confirmed this week that Bobby Decordova-Reid has joined Leicester, decided to turn down his contract talk at Fulham. Which is a shame. What are your thoughts on Bobby deciding to join Leicester, guys?
He's been a true servant to the club, deserves whatever he's getting at Leicester. Clearly, it's whether it's playing more football or getting more money, whatever reason he chose to leave, he's fully deserving of it, and I've got no hard feelings. I just hope he doesn't score against us.
How about yourself, Moz?
Yeah, we speculated on who might possibly go a couple of episodes ago. Bobby's name came up, and I said then I'd be gutted to see him leave, and I am gutted to see him leave. But yeah, not sure why he has gone or decided to move on. Maybe he thinks Bayern Munich won't sign him up. Him being 31 years old right now, but I've got no problem with him going to Leicester, and I hope he just gets some good game time there. And he's a great player, and I'm sure he'll do wonders for them. And good luck to him.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the thing is, Bobby, I think that he's at that age now where not only does he want significant football playing time, he wants that security for his family. And I think we were only really offering that 1 year extension, and I think he's been given a couple of years minimum at Leicester, which, security wise for his family makes 100%. And we know he's a massive family man as well as being a good guy in general. So it doesn't really shock me. As you said, we all said a couple of episodes ago that any of those teams coming up from the Championship to the Premier League would love to have someone like Bobby, because he's got Premier League quality in multiple positions. He just had that problem with us that we had better players in position in almost all those positions, and he just almost his versatility was his down point. But he goes with nothing but with warm wishes and hope him all the best and at Leicester and whatever happens going on, obviously. And as AJ says, just hope he doesn't score against us, because he loves scoring against his old clubs. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, then we'll move on to the big one, which I don't know about you guys, I'm more than glad is finally actually over, which is João PALHINHA has joined Bayern Munich.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
So how are we feeling about this? I don't know about you. I'm just relieved it's over, to be honest with you.
As long as you're telling me Andreas isn't going too, I think I'm good. I've got no more layers on underneath this one. I'm happy for him getting the move that he wants. I'm miserable for him in the fact that these Bayern fans have been right up our backside for the best part of a few months, asking us to free him as if we've been keeping him captured. When realistically we were just asking for money that we rightfully deserve. And when you look at some of the other transfer rumours going on in the Premier League at the moment, the ridiculous money being offered for players that haven't even played a single Premier League minute, it's often feels like we've actually been short-handed here with this Bayern deal. But I'm happy he's got the move he wants. I look forward to seeing him play in the Champions League. As a Fulham rep, we don't get too many of those. And yeah, good luck to him.
Mozza?
Yeah, so it's always been a question of not will it happen, but when. So I agree with you, Ash. It's a bit of a relief that it's finally over now. I think it was it sort of last summer, it was a bit up in the air whether he would go at the time when it was a bit touch and go with Mitro going as well. And I remember thinking at the time, I'd be a little bit disappointed if PALHINHA went, but it makes sense going to a club like that. So I wouldn't be too gutted. Whereas when Mitro went, and it was also very unceremonious. It felt a bit more bitter. So I don't feel quite as bitter. Again, gutted to have PALHINHA go, because I think he's probably our most vital asset in the squad, or was. I think we'll get on to talking about it as well. It's a very big hole that he leaves for someone to come in and fill. So that's my sort of panic. Who do we get to replace him? And yeah, because he was that sort of powerhouse that we'd longed for. So it's a shame we only got 2 seasons out of the fella, really. But all the best to him. It makes total sense. And yeah, be good to see him good to see him playing some Champions League football, like AJ says.
Yeah, I think I fully agree. My feeling on the move is that I am a massive, and will always forever be now, a massive João PALHINHA fan. I love the guy. You can't not see the performances he put in for Fulham over the last 2 years and not be absolutely in love with him. I'm over the moon that it looks like we actually stood our ground on the fee that we wanted. 50 million was what we said we wanted, and it looks like we've got that. Rumour has it that part of the reason why we've managed to reach 50 million is because João's actually put some money in himself, which is part of the reason why it was delayed this week. You had all the Bayern fans going nuts because, Florian, the Bayern's favourite mouthpiece, was out tweeting that, Fulham had held it back and that was still refusing to give it the green light, when in truth, I think they were just trying to get payment terms down with João himself in terms of what he's going to pay towards that transfer himself. We've held firm. We've got the money we want. I'll forever be a João PALHINHA fan. I wish him all the best. Just wish it wasn't for the football club he's going to play for. Bayern Munich fans have sort of, over the last year, have just proven to be real obnoxious football fans. And I don't think that I am being too dramatic when I say that the fact that I'm not going to be getting in Twitter arguments every single week with one of them because they're calling us Prison FC or some rather lame thing, because all we're doing is standing out and trying to get the money that we think a player's worth is beyond it for me. I'm glad we got the money. We move on, obviously. Wish him all the best. Love João. Loved having him for Fulham. Probably the best footballer we've had play for the club in my lifetime. And he did the dirty things well, and we're going to struggle to replace that, and we'll talk about that later on. But it is what it is. I think it's just one of those ones. Now we have to move on and get going, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it is what it is, and I'd also like to highlight that although we have been seeing a lot of unnecessary abuse from Bayern fans on social media, I'm sure that doesn't mean that all Bayern fans are like that. And our sincerest apologies to any Bayern fans that may be watching. Enjoy the content and don't think ill of Fulham, because we love you too. In that case,
I should make it clear that yes, I don't mean all Bayern fans when I say that. I do just mean the ones that were being over the top on social media about Prison FC and stuff like that. I do know a few Bayern fans personally, and they're lovely football people, and they haven't been anywhere remotely bad as this. And it is social media, and that's what it happens, and we move on from that. Obviously, also announced this week is that Tyrese Francois has moved on. I don't know about you personally. I'm not so shocked about this move. He's been at the club for 10 years now. He's sort of been in and around the first team for the last 5 or 6 years. Never even remotely looked like he was ever going to get any first team football. So it's probably a move that he needed himself for his own career. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, so it's a long time to sort of hang around. I don't want to dumb his career or his time spent at Fulham just as hanging around, but absolutely agree. Yeah, I think he's probably realised time to move on and try and get some first team football. So all the best to him.
He reminds me of a Hindman or a Luca Della Torre, the sort of players that might go off, get some minutes somewhere, be productive for them, but are not likely to be considered a top end Premier League player. Fair play if for whatever reason you see this and you go out and prove me wrong, credit to you, but just saying it how I see it.
Well, I think for him, he's been close to getting in a few Socceroos squads, and he's been close. I think his ambition is obviously to play more football for Australia, And that just isn't going to happen. Constantly being on the bench at Fulham and getting a half a season loan to Greece every other season. So I think that he needs it for himself. So good luck to him with that move, really. Obviously, other departures, we haven't really had any that are confirmed. We have quite a few that are rumoured. We still don't know if Willian's decided to sign his new contract, sign his year extension at Fulham, although rumour has it that obviously he's touting himself about around Europe, whether that's, just to get another free holiday out of somebody or because he genuinely has ambitions to go play somewhere else. We don't know. I don't know how about you guys feel about that. I'm still sort of on the fence whether or not I am worried about him staying or going now.
I wouldn't mind him hanging around for another season, but I don't think it will be a terrible loss if he does decide to go. I can't remember if it was one of you guys, again, on a previous episode where someone mentioned he actually likes being around London, hence, before being at Chelsea and whatnot. And this is good. This is going to sound really random, but doesn't he own a restaurant with someone else or something like? And he's got business here, is what I'm trying to say. So, but who knows? He might fancy a year in Europe or elsewhere.
Yeah, that's the thing. We offered him a 2-year deal, and maybe the reason he's actually pushing on moving somewhere else is because he doesn't see 2 more years in his career, and he thinks 1 more year of top-end football, maybe for a Champions League club playing in Holland or Turkey or something like that, where he can get some minutes, play in the Champions League, and feel like his final season was him going all out as opposed to a Fulham. But Fulham are in the Premier League and that's top end of league football, but obviously ambitions of Champions League football and whatnot makes sense. And maybe he thinks 1 season, then come back to London and retire. It's entirely possible. We'll just have to wait and see. But as we saw last season, he didn't sign a deal straight away. He flirted with some other clubs. He got a free holiday out of it. He took an extended break and didn't come back for pre-season with everyone else because he hadn't signed the contracts yet. So he might just be trying to enjoy his summer a bit. We just don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough one when you look at it, isn't it? So we'll see how that goes. And then obviously one of the other major rumours of players potentially leaving, and hopefully Mozza will stay sat calmly as we say this. Tim Ream is obviously being linked with going back to the MLS. Again, I'm a bit on the fence about this one.
New
I
England,
don't know how.
right?
I'm not sure if it was New England that he's been linked with, or it was maybe Cincinnati. But he's been linked with one of the MLS teams, and someone in the comments will rightly confirm that for us. But I don't know too well. What do you sort of feel about that move as a whole?
Depends what he's doing outside of football, really. If he's working on his coaching badges presently, which I suspect he is, I'm not opposed to having him around the club. I think he'd be a good influence on the likes of Bassi and any young defenders we've got. However, if he's not working on his coaching badges and is just looking for a couple years of extra football before he retires, I've got no hard feelings if he wants to go back to the States.
Now, Mozza, try not to sound too enthused about this, mate. What are your feelings on it?
I'm not backpedaling here, but I feel like I've painted a bad picture in the past of my comments on Tim Ream. He's been a great servant. I won't be gutted to see him go. He's been with us for a while. I will stick to my guns though and say I think he's past it, and I don't think he can really play first team for Fulham anymore. But I think that is just the factor there is his age. It would make perfect sense, I reckon, if he was to go back to the MLS and sort of finish off his career there back home, or as close to home as possible for him. Again, good luck to him. I'd probably rather push to see him go though and make room for someone else to come in.
Yeah, I'm really on the fence about it. I love Tim Ream. He's been an absolutely outstanding servant for Fulham. He's been one of those players like Bobby Decordova-Reid that have stuck with the club through some sort of sticky patches. We've had, we were all there for those yo-yo years and stuff, and he was one of those ever presents through the Premier League seasons or the Championship seasons, and he was always sort of extra reliable, always super professional. And you can't really say any bad words about him. The only reason why I sort of want him to stay is only because and it's such a bad reason that this would be his 10th season, which means he would be testimonial level player, and it's been 20 years since Fulham have had a player reach testimonial sort of levels. Him and obviously Tom Kearney are both sort of at that threshold now. So I'd love to see that happen. But again, if he wants to play competitive football, and I know he does have the World Cup in the US that's coming up in 2 years, that he does have ambitions to be in that US squad as he's sort of his final swan song into football. He's probably going to need to be playing football. And I don't see loads of that happening in at Fulham. I think Calvin Bassey's come in and sort of made that position his now.
Yeah.
And everyone knows I'm a massive Calvin Bassey stan, and I love him more than almost any Fulham player that we've signed in recent years. So, I don't see him taking that space up in front of him. But again, if he goes, it'd be with no will ill at all, and nothing but wishful thinking and good luck for him. But it's just one of those ones. I don't really think we've had any other players that have been linked out strongly in the last couple of weeks. Have you guys had any rumours or anything of players possibly departing other than AP and Jose Pereira? And I don't say it sort of quietly, obviously, because you've got that shirt on. I don't really want to see. I don't really want to see you topless, Jack. But
No, I'm sure not. I'm sure nor do the fans. Although I have been hitting the gym.
Was there a rumour about Anthony Robinson possibly going, or someone trying to poach him?
No, there's
there's
been
been no
strong links. It's just been hearsay rumor, and hopefully, I think the club are smart. They will know that if we want a football club that's anywhere remote to finishing top half of the table, we need to keep Jedi around, because he's a level of player that we need to have at the club, and we're not going to be able to replace that very easily, because he's probably arguably one of the best left backs in the league, not even one of our best players. And the fact that I'm saying that out loud after the amount of stick I gave him a couple of years ago for his ability is absolutely amazing. But that is what that is, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to
go on,
Jack. No, I was going to say, obviously, that I don't really think there's anybody else in terms of players leaving. So we should probably talk about some players coming in. We obviously know we have a bit of a dilapidated squad at the moment. It is slightly concerning that we haven't made any signings yet, but we all know this is Fulham, and we don't make signings easily. We don't do this with timed frames. We've obviously had a few players linked with us in the last couple of weeks. I think two of the strongest links, and we'll start with the first one, is Emile Smith-Rowe from Arsenal. What are your thoughts on this potential signing, guys? AJ?
As a player, I'd like the prospect of it, but based on what I'm hearing around the transfer and the fact that he's not keen on us and that's what's delaying business, I'd just move on. This trying to convince players that they should be playing for us isn't something that I'm ever on board with. It's something that I don't think we should waste time with as a football club. You either see the ambition of Marco Silva and the project he's building and want to come and play in the Premier League for Fulham and hopefully push the team on and can see that project and invest in it, or you see us in the eyes of a mid-table Premier League club and want to use us either as a stepping stone or don't want to use us at all, in which case, don't come. It's that simple. There are other options, and especially for the money we're probably going to have to spend with him being English and from Arsenal, there's so many options out there that could be considered. I'm not saying no to signing him. I'm just saying let's not spend 2 and a bit months trying to convince him, only for him to not either sign and not be bothered when he does get here, or not sign and we've wasted all that effort.
Yeah, Mozza, how about yourself, mate? How do you feel about it?
I haven't got much more to add to that, although that's the first I've heard what you said, AJ, there about him like not wanting to go or come to us. I mean, for me, that's a straight red flag. I don't want a player at our club who has to think twice, really, and it just doesn't make sense. If you haven't got the ambition or the enthusiasm, then yeah, get in the bin, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm going to play devil's advocate just a little bit here, because I've heard from a few people that it's not a case of he doesn't want to join Fulham. I think the case for him is that he doesn't fully see the door at Arsenal being shut, and he's willing to fight for his place there. And I think it's more of a case of him say he's not reluctant to join Fulham. He's just reluctant to leave Arsenal. He wants to fight for his space. And I think as soon as it becomes obvious that Arsenal are selling him and that he doesn't have a chance there, that his position there will probably change. Obviously, we don't know the ins and outs of the deal. None of us, spoken to Emil himself to know exactly how he feels. But on me playing devil's advocate, I've heard that it's not actually a case of him not wanting to join Fulham. It's just more of a case of him wanting to fight for his spot at Arsenal. And until he's told that that's a no-go, that's exactly what he wants to do. And I don't have a problem with that personally, because that's what I would want of a player at my football club. If they're, a fringe player, I'd want them to be willing to fight for their spot, not just happy to leave because we're going, that's it.
Yeah, if that's the mentality of ESR, then that's perfectly acceptable. However, I do stand by the fact of we shouldn't take 2.5 months trying to convince him or convince Arsenal in that case to sell to us. Because if Arsenal aren't giving him clear and concise information, we shouldn't even be dealing with them. It's not worth it with how thin our squad is at the moment. If it happens to be that we sign 2 other wingers and he's the third one that comes through the door later in the window because we've signed those extra bodies, then fine. But we're Fulham. Let's be realistic. I think we'd be lucky if we get 2 wingers.
Yeah, I'm just reading. I'm sorry. I'm literally. I know. I'm just looking at my phone. I'm just looking on Twitter now because, funny enough, it just popped up. Someone who's looking in the deal is that
breaking news.
Fulham have put willing to pay 25 million for him, but Arsenal want between 30 and 40, and that's currently the sticking point. But other than that, he is Fulham's current top priority of a player to sign. So.
Interesting that he's top priority. I would have thought the departure of PALHINHA would have stepped up the advances of Andre and/or Souza. Andre obviously being heavily linked previously, and there's a lot of whispers going around in Brazil that the deal is already done. It's just a matter of him finishing his time in the Brazilian league that is still ongoing at the moment. Which should be wrapping up relatively soonish or taking a break. I'm not sure the periods of the Brazilian league, but if we happen to sign Andre and Souza, we may as well just have this as our away shirt, because it'll be if we have Willian, it'll be 5 players in the starting 11 that are Brazilian.
But it's funny you say that. I remember having a conversation with my cousin a couple of years ago about the fact that why do we never seem to have Brazilians at Fulham? Yeah. And then now we've just fully turned it into the Samba Whites. So it's it is. So obviously talking about Andre and Souza, both quite strongly linked this week again. Yeah. Andre, as you say, they're saying that potentially the deal is already done and they're just waiting for the break in the Brazilian league to happen. How do you personally feel about that deal? I think it's probably about time that he joined Fulham. I think we've been courting him for a long time, and I think that it was only PALHINHA not leaving last summer and then Bayern Munich not coming back in January as to why he didn't join Fulham last season. I'm not quite sure how that deal will work out, and it's always quite difficult to sign players from Brazil because of the time period in which their league is played in, obviously, and rightfully so. They don't want to lose players midway through their season, and that makes absolute sense. Souza as a deal, he's a good player. I think he was a really good player at Sheffield United last year. my only problem with that is I think the fee of 30 million that they're saying they want is massively too much. I think they'll find in the next couple of weeks that they won't be able to sustain his wages in the Championship, and I can see that deal being one of those Tony Khan deadline day specials, because he'll be able to persuade them that they'd rather lose £5 million or £10 million on his value than have to pay him the over 100k a week he's reportedly on there. What do you guys feel about that?
We got to be careful that we don't get pipped to the post with stuff like that, because obviously he will be one of the players that is sought after. I can see it being one of those, as you said, Tony Khan types of deal where actually he might get it done a little bit sooner rather than later, but it's a loan with an obligation to buy, and it will be for the money they want next year, but it means that we get a year out of him basically for just paying his wages, which I'm not opposed to, as long as we get the good end of the deal with the Andre deal. If we get Andre and Sousa over the line for a combined 50 million, I'm not against that. Yes, we can sit there and say we paid over the odds for Sousa, but we can also say we got a relative bargain in Andre. So swings and roundabouts. If we can secure both of them for that 50 million mark, I'm a happy bunny.
And yourself, Mozza, how do you feel about it?
Totally agree, chaps. It seems too easy to sort of turn it into a Tony Khan slagging match, doesn't it? And like it's punching down almost. And it's the same thing, like you said, classic deadline day. We do take too long to sign players. The money's there, surely, isn't it? If we've just got this fee for PALHINHA, which they're saying is record fee, before that, sorry to use the two same players in the same sentence again, but Mitro, all that money, all the prices that they put up for tickets and stuff. So the money's there. I don't like all this, whatever his tactic is, if it's haggling and waiting until the last minute. Pay the money, build the squad, give them time to gel together in pre-season. And I don't know, is that or is that too easy?
I think the players are due back from pre-season this week. And I think we'll see a significant amount of movement in the next couple of... By the time this episode probably comes out, or before we sit down to record our next episode, we'll probably find that we've had 3 or 4 players come through the door because of that fact. Because I think that we know that Marco Silva won't put up with us not signing players, and he won't put up with not being given the squad that he deserves. And at the moment, we're in a position where that is a bit concerning, because of the fact that we have so many sort of holes in our squad at the moment, where players have left or have been sold or whatever. But we'll have to see. We'll have to watch that space. I think the only other strong link we've had this week that has been mentioned a few times is Kishkoy for the Turkish player. I know that we've put in, we've been rumoured to put in a bid, but it had been rejected outright. I think that one will be one of those moves that, if it does happen, it'll be very quick. They tend not to mess around too much in Turkey when it comes to transfers. There's not so much of the sort of messing around in finer detail. It's more of just a case of this is what we want, give us what it is, and we'll move on. So I think that we'll see, and I think again, trying to sort of wrap up this part of the episode, that I think that move will, that if that happens, it's an exciting one. I think he's an exciting young player, and I know that Vincenzo Montella, obviously ex-Fulham player, now Turkey manager, has spoken quite highly of him as a potential player to play for Turkey in the coming sort of World Cup qualifiers. So, I think it could potentially be a really good move. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think that is for me on that move.
Yeah, it sounds like a good move. I actually hadn't heard about that one, so I'll have to look into it. But yeah, that sounds quite tasty.
Yeah, exciting prospect if we can get it for the right price. Again, it's another player that if we don't get for the right price, it could end up being problematic.
Cool. We're going to take a break here, guys. We're going to end part 1 here. And if you are listening, obviously, watching the podcast, we'll be back with part two in a couple of days. But we'll end this here. We're going to move on to part two, where we'll be talking about England and the Euros.